Looking at the consumer preferences across some of the larger LATAM countries like Brazil and Mexico, Brazil had in 2024 a 346 billion e-com volume market. So clearly one of the bigger markets out there. And from a consumer interaction, 72% was on mobile versus 28% on desktop in terms of how consumers choose to interact with the purchases. And now we're up to 40% of the e-commerce purchases was made by Pix. 75% of the population in Brazil uses Pix today. It is interesting to look a little bit at the background for that. So bank account penetration being very high in Brazil, but that is a very relatively recent scenario. And we really credit the neobanks to offering just a very simple bank account products, quite often for free. There's also a huge chunk of the population served by a public bank, Caixa. So the free bank accounts are tied to Social Security and governmental support for the consumers that are using this bank, Caixa. And this doesn't mean that 96% of the population is well served. We have a large proportion that barely have access to credit card. The real digitization of payments and financial transactions was done in the last 5 years by Pix. And since it started off as a P2P and now have become the preferred way to make payments, it is cannibalizing cash. Maybe not as much debit or credit cards and definitely not bank penetration. So you don't need a bank account to be able to access Pix, and millions of Brazilians are in this budget. So we don't expect maybe like a ton of cannibalization of cards, but just a growing pool for merchants to be able to access now that consumers have Pix. We'll see some cannibalization if they want to use Pix, but also opening up a bigger market for merchants to access consumers.